Welcome everyone to Family Focus, a program produced by Family Service Association. I'm your host, Mike Moran. We're delighted that you're tuned in to this edition of the program, and welcome to the month of March as we make our way through what is still a new year. And we have a great topic to speak with you about in a program that is administered by Family Service Association and has been for a few years. That is a great help and assistance to families in our community. Family being such a central, it's like the middle name of our agency, and it is the first name of the program that we're going to talk about. We're very happy to have as our guest Allison Hague, who is the program director for the Family Service Association Family Resource Center.
Yes.
Allison, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
The records show that you were last here, do you know when?
It's been a couple of years.
September of 2016.
Okay.
How have you eluded us?
I'm not exactly sure. I maybe volunteered my director.
Yeah, there you are. You were volunteered. No, you've always been willing to come and share information. It's one of the things that I get such a kick out of doing, is not only showcasing the programs and the services that our agency provides to the community, but in particular to get our viewers to get to know some of the people behind those programs, because the programs mean nothing without the people that administer them. So let's find out a little bit about you. You're a master's level social worker. You're a licensed independent clinical social worker.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a lot to cram into 22 years of life. Right?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but those credentials are important. How did you get into the field? Was it a natural attraction to get into the social service helping profession, as we call it? Or?
Yes. Ever since I was young, I always wanted to work with youth and families and help people. There was a lot of people in my life as I was a child and youth that were there for me: teachers, coaches, family members, neighbors, and so it was just a calling. And
yeah. It is really that, isn't it?
It is
a calling.
Yeah.
You could have maybe gone another direction, made $1 million, but that doesn't happen in the nonprofit world of social service.
That's not why we're in it.
That's a good answer. Good answer. So, did you begin after your training and your licensure and all of that as a therapist?
Nope. I actually first started working in Newport, actually, for child and family services. Okay. And I worked within a group home level of care for boys ages 5 to 12. And I worked with parents who were reunifying with their children, and I was a parent educator. I worked across the state of Rhode Island for that. And then when I transitioned over here to Family Services in Fall River, I worked with the LIFT program, which was our old Lives in Forward Transition, right, which was transition age youth 18 to 22 who were voluntarily staying in care within the department and living in foster homes and working towards independent living goals.
Right. And you're saying that very quickly, but I remember the program. It really was instrumental in providing those young people with some of the skills for them to transition successfully to school, to work, right, to getting their driver's license, to
absolutely
doing the kinds of things that for some comes more easily than for others. Mm-hmm. But you think of the impact that must have had on the lives of the clients that were enrolled in that program. Yeah,
it was very fulfilling to work with them. And there was also a mentoring component that was really wonderful. We provide mentoring to those youth weekly. And as that program was kind of wrapping up here at FSA, the new Children's Behavioral Health Initiative was implemented, and therapeutic mentoring services became another part of our program here at the agency. Right. And so I've been also working with the therapeutic mentoring program since about 2010 here.
Give us a little inkling as to what that is, because you talked about the Lives in Forward Transition and you described that very well. There is a bit of a dovetail with what therapeutic mentoring is. Tell us about what that means. So
therapeutic mentoring is one of the 6 new children's behavioral health services in the state. It is what's called hub dependent. So the youth does have to have a hub for the service, which is identified as either a in-home therapist, an outpatient therapist, or an intensive care coordinator from the community service agency.
And one of the terms that gets used in describing that group of programs is young people who are experiencing serious emotional disturbance. Is that
That's correct.
That's a very specific sort of clinical, has a specific clinical meaning.
Correct. So we work with children as young as 3 to 4 up until their 21st birthday. And also the other eligibility criteria is they have a mental health diagnosis.
Right,
Because
and that could be depression, anxiety, not just, and I try to put myself in the shoes of the layman at home who may not have familiarity directly with these kinds of things, who say that, well, you know, we had it tough when we were kids and you know, we just kind of plowed through. But there are diagnosable mental health issues that affect people of every age, including
Correct.
children and adolescents and young adults and adults and elders.
Yes, so the symptoms of those diagnoses are impacting the child's ability to appropriately live in across many life domains. So they
Right.
may struggle at home, at school, in the community, across life skills, social skills. They may need help with coping skills. So it's a very therapeutic relationship. It's not just a big brother, big sister.
Right,
It's very
right.
goal-directed. The hub is the one that will instill the treatment plan that we work on. So there's specific goals every week when we're, and it's one-on-one. So when that mentor is bringing the youth out to the community, there's specific goals we're working on. So that if we're engaging at the Boys and Girls Club, maybe we're working with that youth on how to befriend someone at the Boys and Girls Club to play a game together. How do you work on those sportsmanship skills, those interpersonal communication skills?
Right. And what you're describing makes me think that if people sometimes wonder, why do I have all these programs and all these different services and things like that? Well, if you consider, and I'm sure having worked in the program, you know the many success stories, you wonder where these young people would have been with their lives. What avenues would they have gone down were it not for the guidance and support and assistance that they got from, in this case of the program you mentioned, a therapeutic mentor,
Right.
or some other support service that is included in that list of services that
Absolutely,
you
it can be
described.
life-changing.
I tell this anecdote, and I've told it a few times. I met with a therapeutic mentor and a young boy that he was working with a number of years ago, and after I encountered this boy who was very outgoing and very articulate, made great eye contact with me, shook my hand, he was interested in knowing my name, and I said to the worker who was assisting him, I said, I would have expected a very different type of personality in someone who's enrolled in our program. And he said to me, you should have met this boy when he first started with us.
Absolutely.
And he, with the help of this mentor, had a complete turnaround.
And I'm sure before they met you, there was probably a lot of coaching and modeling going on and prepping for that interaction.
Oh boy,
That's
it
a lot
seemed
of
like
what
the
we
real
do.
deal.
Yeah.
It didn't seem rehearsed in any
Yep.
way, shape, or
Yep.
form. Which gets us to the real reason that you're here. Not only have you got that sort of background in some of the other programs that we administer at Family Service, but when it was time for us to be considered for a very specific kind of service called the Family Resource Center, somebody said, I think Allison would be good for that. How did that come about exactly? Let's give us, you know, just the easiest definition of what the Family Resource Center is.
Sure. There's family resource centers throughout the Commonwealth. There's actually at least one in every county. The family resource centers were part of the new child requiring assistance law change from the old CHINS, Child in Need of Services. So there are some very specific services that family resource centers provide to families in their communities regarding the child requiring assistance. So we have specific roles. We have a clinician and a family partner that work with any family that their child may be experiencing any kind of child requiring assistance matter. So that might be truancy, sexual exploitation, what they call stubborn child, and the family's offered an opportunity to come in to the center and meet with us, and we complete a thorough family needs and strengths assessment, and from there we develop a family support plan. So we might enroll that youth in a recreational program at Greater Fall River Recreation. We may make a in-home therapy referral, an outpatient therapy referral, really what the family feels would be most helpful.
It sounds like what the hospitals call in the field of physical health triage. Is
Yes.
that pretty much what happens?
It is, yep, and we try to wrap around services for that family.
And there's a term, and in the field that you and I are in, the term wraparound services has a very specific meaning. Could you talk a little bit about what that is?
Sure, it's about really valuing the importance of family voice and choice, being culturally competent, making sure that everyone that's integrated with that family as far as a resource or a service are all working off the same plan, so the family isn't feeling so overwhelmed with, I have this one treatment plan with this service, I have this treatment plan with this service, so that way that the family is feeling supported by everyone, and it's kind of a team develops.
I see. Well, and you mentioned almost in passing the role of Greater Fall River Recreation as one of the opportunities that may be there for families that utilize your program. It just so happens that the Family Resource Center is physically located in the same facility
Yes.
as Greater Fall River Recreation, which if we were taping this program 10 years ago, we would have referred to the Bank Street Armory in
That's
Fall
right,
River.
or CD Rec.
Or CD Rec,
Yes.
but that is no longer the case because there's a facility that is still very well known to the Greater Fall River folks who are watching our program, and that is the old 2nd District Court on Rock Street,
Yes.
the corner of Rock and Bedford, which is now the headquarters of Community Development Recreation, and or Greater Fall River Recreation. And our good friend and yours and my mutual friend, Grace Gerling, operates
Yes.
that program. She's been a guest on this show a number of times over the years. And if you go into her building up on the 2nd floor, it's
That's
the Family
where we
Resource
are.
Center.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Perfect spot.
Who typically walks in the door? Where do the referrals come from? How would someone, other than tuning into this program and learning about it perhaps for the first time, who are the people typically that come in the door? Are they sent by other agencies in the community that they say, you know, let's use the FRC, the Family Resource Center, as a starting point? Is that kind of how it happens?
Yes, I mean, outreach is huge, so I think we're still educating the community about us, and we want people to know that we're here, and we're here to provide information and referral. Anyone can call us, any family member within the community or Greater Fall River area can call us by phone. We'll assist by phone. If you're able to get to us, we would love for you to come in, and you can be a self-referral, you can walk in, you can call, but many providers and other agencies within the Greater Fall River area do recommend their families or clients reach out to us. They can complete a referral form. Like I mentioned, we obviously work very closely with the schools since we're offering services to any student with a truancy issue. So we have many referrals come from the truancy offices within Fall River. We work closely with the juvenile court, with probate court, probation, but really we're accessible for any family member in the community.
I want to pursue that a little bit further after we return. We're going to take a short break, a little time out. We're going to continue our visit with Allison Hague, and we'll talk about the Family Resource Center, a remarkable program offered by Family Service Association. We're going to take a short time out for a break, and when we return, we'll talk more. You're watching Family Focus, and we thank you for tuning in. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Carol Nagel, President and CEO of Family Service Association. A lot has changed since the day when our agency began its long journey of providing services to our community. In the beginning, our mission was a simple one: to provide caring and helpful services designed to improve the lives of the individuals and families who live and work here. And while the programs we provide have changed over the years, and the problems facing the community have become more challenging, Family Service is still here 125 years later to answer the call. As we look to the future, we'll continue to work together with our many community partners and to find new and better ways to bring our services to those who need them. Whether it's providing a warm, welcoming learning environment for preschool children, offering professional counseling, or helping elders maintain their good health and independence, Family Service remains committed to the spirit of that very same mission of service that guided us when we took those few steps in 1888. Please visit our website and learn more about our agency, its programs, and our long history of service to the community.
Welcome back. You're watching Family Focus, a program produced by Family Service Association. We want to thank our friends here at the campus of Bristol Community College where we produce this program, and in particular our friends from Fall River Community Media who do such a wonderful job at assisting us to bring this program to you. We also want to thank our affiliate stations. We have the good fortune of being on public access cable television stations in Somerset, in Swansea, in Westport, in Dartmouth, in New Bedford, and we've recently added Fairhaven, town of Fairhaven, and public access television there. So we're very, very glad that you've tuned into this program. We're going to reintroduce our guest and say hello once again to Allison Hague. She leads the Family Resource Center, a very important program administered by Family Service Association, and it's located at 45 Rock Street in the sharing space with Greater Fall River Recreation, and what some of us of a certain age call the old 2nd District Court. Allison, thanks. Welcome back. Thanks for doing this. You were talking about some of the people and some of the referral sources that send folks your way, and you mentioned, of course, that folks can walk in if they just have a need and they have questions that need to be answered. I would think that your staff have to be pretty much ready for everything, because the needs of whatever individual or family walks in the door, it may be a very wide gamut. Is that the case?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We try to participate in lots of different community coalitions, task forces, meetings, to hear about the community needs, and certainly offer trainings to all of our staff, in-service trainings around making sure we know how to access housing resources, food resources, any of the basic needs. We get questions around grief groups, anything. So we want to make sure that we have that resource and information available to any family member. And if we don't know it, we will get the person's contact information and return with that resource. We don't just say, sorry, you know, we can't find what you're looking for, and send them on their way. We always follow up and find out what the resource and information is.
And what they're going to find if they walk in the door is a very comfortable space.
Yes.
Of which you and your staff are justifiably very proud. It's kind of a user-friendly environment for people who may be trying to access services. They don't quite know where to go. They might be apprehensive, maybe a bit anxious about what they're doing. How do you, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of staff training that's involved. And
well, I think what the real mission of the Family Resource Centers is that it's the family's center. So when they come in, it should feel like they're not specifically their home, but that they're welcomed. We make sure if they need something to drink or a snack, if they haven't eaten, or if they're coming right from school for an appointment to meet with us, it's very warm and welcoming. We also wanted it to be very family friendly, so that there's obviously a lot of children coming, so we have a nice play area, and we have kids tables and chairs, and lots of resources. So we have a big brochure wall and copies of parent education around children's safety, parent education, drug and alcohol education, anything that parents can take back literature home for them to have.
right, it would, and the other thing that I've taken note of over time that the Family Resource Center has been operated is that it becomes sort of the home of other organizations that may want to do a training or a community education event, or and the menu of services there sponsored by other community organizations is pretty thorough, isn't it?
We're very, very fortunate. We work really hard at collaborating with all different community organizations. We're very lucky that we have Greater Fall River Partners for a Healthier Community. Actually, their community outreach coordinator, Yancy Fontanez, is facilitating a parent support group in Spanish. So that's for Latina caregivers, and it's a time for them to come twice a month and meet in their primary language and talk about their struggles and hopes for their family, and have trainings for that. We work very closely with Hope Hospice and Hope Health. So there's a wonderful educational caregiver support group for caregivers of individuals with dementia and Alzheimer's, and that meets twice a month. Hope Hospice runs a grief support group monthly. Solid Ground Psychotherapy sometimes comes down and meets with young adults in the building for outpatient therapy. It's really about making accessible important community organizations in our center available for families when they're coming in.
Is this array of services, it's probably funded by a lot of different sources. The external organizations that use the Family Resource Center may have their own funding sources
Correct.
for the training and so forth, but for the Family Resource Center itself, does that come through a state grant?
So we are funded through the Department of Children and Families. So the target audience is children and families. But like I mentioned, we're accessible to any individual family member. So sometimes we're assisting individuals in the community who maybe don't have their adult children living in the area. They might be out of state. So we will work really hard to provide any information and referral for any individual.
How about if a family walks over the threshold and there's a child, you know, an 11 or 12-year-old child who is schoolwork is not up to par in the eyes of the parents. The child is very withdrawn, more so than a child of that age might be typically, you know, going through life, and there may be a diagnosable situation where the child is depressed or anxious.
Sure.
And there's a clinical need. How would that be addressed by the Family Resource Center?
So that would be a meeting with the parent and the youth, working with our clinician.
So there is a clinician that's associated
Yes.
with the Family Resource Center?
Yes. So we have a clinician on site that can do an assessment. We do a family strengths, needs, and assessment. So they would kind of assess those symptoms and make the appropriate referrals for outpatient therapy. We also have a school liaison position who really works between bridging those relationships for the student and family with the school. So sometimes we may engage with a family and the caregiver may feel like some additional testing needs to happen for this child, or maybe there is a 504 or an individual education plan already in place, but they're concerned about how it's being implemented into the school, or they don't quite understand the plan, or they need some assistance. Our school liaison can assist any family member with those needs.
What I'm hearing from you, Allison, is in addition to information and referral, there's a lot of advocacy as well.
Yes, correct.
To help people navigate the system because they may have no idea what they need and how to connect to the appropriate services that would be perfectly suited for them.
Right, and I think they might walk through the door with one need, and then as we sit with them, we might discover, oh, there's 5 or 6 other needs. And we might be able to offer just their participation in a certain group at our center that might help ameliorate those symptoms, or we'll connect them with a referral to another service that could help.
Right. You've just received some good news at the Family Resource Center that, and I have to believe that it's based on the performance of the facility and your staff and the positive outcomes that have resulted from the work that you do, that there's an increase in size and scope for the Family Resource Center.
Yes.
First initially started in Fall River how long ago?
In August of 2015.
Okay. As a micro Family
model.
Resource Center.
Yes.
Now they're going to call it a macro.
Macro, full center service, yes.
Now, and was there any extensive process to that? Did you know, the agency have to, and the program have to make its case and say, here are our outcomes, here are our numbers, here's how busy we are, here's how, and all of that to sort of make the case that we really deserve more resources assigned to our program?
Every month we are responsible for completing a monthly report, and actually all of our data is stored and shared actually with UMass Medical School. That's who the Department of Children and Families collaborates with to store all of that data. So our data really showed that numbers here in Fall River that we needed to move to a full center in order to help benefit the families that live here. So with that, we were fully funded. We also, all of the positions are full-time, and we've also been able to add an additional family support worker. And we will have a bilingual Spanish-speaking family support worker coming on board.
And those things aren't easily obtained.
No.
I would imagine that there's a lot of accountability to the state, and the state wants to know that it's spending its money the right way.
Right.
And like so many social services, as you're describing it, I really get the strong impression that the Family Resource Center is, and we alluded to this a little bit earlier, you wonder where would the people that are utilizing the service be? How much more complicated and problematic would their lives and the challenges that they're facing be?
Right.
What would the cost be in terms of the human cost and the dollars and cents cost to the community if there, were it not for the sort of the safety net that the Family Resource Center provides? It's kind of hard to prove.
Right.
But you know the data, having worked with it and seen the results, and I'm sure that you could speak to specific situations where I know of a family where they came in needing this, and here's what we did, and now they're here.
Right.
They were on A, and now they're at
Yep.
LMNOP.
And all of that is captured. We have a service provision form that we capture all of that. I think the awesome part of Family Resource Centers is there's no eligibility. So often you find maybe an organization where you're going to approach for help, but you don't have the right insurance, or you don't have the right mental health diagnosis.
Right.
Where a Family Resource Center, you can access us just because.
Just because.
Yeah.
And I would also think that there are some people who may come in the door, find what they need relatively quickly. Others may walk in the door or place a phone call to you, and their needs are more complicated and require a little bit more staff time and more attention and a little bit more digging and research and so on. So it sounds like a very dynamic environment.
It is, and I think what's been great to see as well since we've opened is families come back.
Yeah.
They felt welcomed, they felt respected, they felt like we helped.
Right.
And so when something else might arise for them, they come back for information or referral, or they're just coming back to join a group.
Sure.
They're engaging in our free family activities. We offer evidence-based parent education groups quarterly. We have a grandparents raising grandchildren monthly support group.
We're going to do another show.
We offer a lot. We try not to duplicate any service that's already existing here,
Right.
and we're just really trying to fill in the gaps.
Allison, thank you so much for
Thank
doing
you.
this. The time has flown by. We thank you. It's a great resource. Go to our website, www.frfsa.org. Look at the top of the page for agency programs. Look for Family Resource Center. You'll learn all about it. Allison, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike.
And we thank you for tuning in to this edition of Family Focus. We'll see you again next month with a new program. And until then, we'll say thank you and goodbye.